Okay, Phil, a lot of people want to know what's the essential kit for an archaeologist? What do you need before you even think about going in the field?
Well, let's be honest. The most important thing that any archaeologist ever needs is one of these, a trowel. Now, the trowel is the most important piece of kit that the archaeologist ever has. Not only is it the most important bit, it is the most personal bit. Every archaeologist has his or her own trowel. They feel comfortable in the hand, and woe betide anybody else who ever uses my trowel without my permission. This trowel is what a proper archaeologist trowel should be. All of this should be forged in together. It's no good having a cheap welded one, because if you work hard enough, you'll break that off there. And then you end up with a broken trowel, and a broken trowel is no good to anybody. This is a good sized trowel, and when you use the trowel, you tend to use it this way. It's not a this trowel, it's not a this thing, it's this sort of thing. So you need to have a trowel that is big enough to shift muck. Muck is dirt. You need a trowel that's big enough to shift muck. Some archaeologists think it's very, very good to have a very, very small trowel. They like to think that shows that they've been digging holes for donkey's years. No, that just means they don't like to do any work. This is the sort of trowel. Now you can see that because I'm a slightly experienced archaeologist, I like to have a range of trowels. You only really need one, but these are pretty much all the same size. Sometimes you have a smaller one, sometimes you do need one with a little bit of a point there so you can winkle in amongst the stones and all the rest of it. So once you really get experience, it's always useful to have a slight reserve. So that's the most important sort of piece of kit. Now, the next most important piece of kit, and probably the piece of kit that I actually use more than any other trowel, is this. This is a shovel. This is my shovel. This is my special shovel because it's got a longer handle than normal. And that's because I'm so old and decrepit that I can't get down quite so far as I used to, and so I have to I can stand up. This is a beautiful shovel. Quite small in here, so you can actually shift quite a lot of muck. And with this one, actually, you can get it way up there if you want to chuck. If you're in a deep hole, you can really chuck the muck up there. Some people do actually prefer shovels with even longer handles. If I lost this shovel, it'd be like losing a leg. This is the most beautiful, beautiful shovel. I love this. And this really is a personal possession. So, you've got to have a shovel. Now, paintbrushes. Paintbrushes, different sizes of paintbrushes. Paintbrushes are alright when what you're digging is dry. If it's wet, then the brush tends to smear it quite a bit. So what you need is something with its nice bristles there. See, that one really is really get in. And then with these things like that, little dental picks, again, you can ease the dirt away. And then this things like plasterer's leaf, just to get down in amongst. No archaeologist should ever go onto a site without they got their special small scale tools. So that's pretty much. Oh. Spoons, because where the shovel won't get in, the spoons will. So if you can't afford to go out and actually buy spoons, then what you have to do, if you're a young archaeologist, is to raid your mother's kitchen drawer and steal spoons. And then what you do is you bend the handle so that you can ladle out the dirt out of the holes. Remember, I didn't say steal, I just meant take from the kitchen drawer. I think that's pretty much what you need to do the digging, but of course you do need also the materials to measure. So no archaeologist should ever go on site without at least one tape measure, so they can actually do the measuring, the planning and the recording. And of course then you would need pencils biros, marker pens to mark the bags with the labels so that you know which layer and which site, which trench you're actually working in, clips to hold down the piece of paper on your drawing board, string. This is beautiful string, this is lovely string. Look at that, it's very, very fine string. And this is the sort of string you need when you want to be drawing a section, the face of a trench. Stick that in, that end, and then with a nail on the other end, stick that in, and you level it up with the line level. So that means that your string is perfectly horizontal. You can put a tape across and you can measure down and measure up to do your drawings. This is something that I never use. It's a rubber. Why do I never use it? Because I never make a mistake. But all other archaeologists should always have a rubber just in case they make mistakes.
And what about this box itself? Seen a few tricks?
Well, that box is nearly as old as I am. I've had this very, very many years. When I started in archaeology, archaeologists didn't tend to have boxes, and that was because every site had its own specialist person for doing the plans and doing the sections, and so what you tended to do was dig the hole and somebody else came along and recorded what you'd written. But now most archaeologists are expected, as a matter of course, to be able to record all the layers that they dig through, and so archaeologists now tend to have boxes. This, as you say, is a very old box, and you can see that it is getting so old that it's got a lot of holes in the bottom. And it's getting very, very rusty. Look all the way around there. But where would I be without my box? Mine.
Okay, Phil, well thanks for the illuminating tour of what's in the box.